Republican Congressman James Comer just got hit with some bad news, and that is that potentially he may see an ethics probe into him sometime in the near future. Now, this is the very beginning of this being a potential problem for James Comer, but because this is a story I've been following so closely, I want to jump in on it early and give you a sense of what's going on. But regardless of how this turns out, it helps to expose the horrible, horrible thing that James Comer's doing with his effort to impeach, or his fake effort, I should say, to impeach Biden, where he doesn't actually seem dedicated to impeaching Biden, because what would you impeach him over? All these claims are falling apart for Republicans, but he continues to go through this song and dance and go through the motions and pretend like he will. But why? Well, the New Republic reports on why. Comer could face ethics probe for trying to monetize impeachment probe. Two probe usages. That's confusing. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer's latest potential book deal about the impeachment effort into President Joe Biden might actually put him in the crosshairs of an ethics investigation. In a letter sent Tuesday to the Office of Congressional Ethics, the Watchdog group Congressional Integrity Project requested a probe into Comer's deal, citing House Rule 25 as a basis for the request. The group noted that members may not receive copyright royalties under a contract unless that contract is first approved by the Standards Committee. Just gonna pause your viewing of this video to ask you to subscribe. It makes a huge difference. Just takes a click if you're enjoying the content. If you're not, what are you doing here? Go away, haters. But if you like it, please click the subscribe button. And back to the video. As Representative Comer continues to hold hearings and attempts to build the case to impeach President Biden, the American people deserve to know the extent to which he's benefiting financially. It's clear already that he has a political motive to impeach the president, and it should be revealed if he has a financial motive as well. And just a little bit more of this article, then I'll respond. Comer has already admitted that the impeachment was a dud. Last month, the oversight chair confessed that criminal referrals were the most accountability that his meritless, wayward impeachment probe was going to achieve. That is, of course, a far cry from the investigation's original goal, which was to remove Biden from office. Can you imagine? So this is, again, super preliminary, which is why there's not a ton to discuss. If there are technical violations here, hold them accountable. I'm not exactly read in enough on all the different rules that would apply here to know where you can go wrong in monetizing off of this sort of political behavior. But here's the important takeaway. This call out of James Comer emphasizes such a disgusting element of what we're watching play out for Republicans and what their goal is here. We've already talked a bunch about how they're not really trying to convince through evidence America that Joe Biden's corrupt. They're not actually trying to find that smoking gun they keep referring to and actually see Biden brought out of the White House in cuffs because Biden crime family. That's not actually the goal, because they know they're not going to find the evidence, because if that evidence existed, they probably would have found it by now. But instead, it's about enough headlines being present, enough people hearing crime, accusation, Biden, and going, okay, I know people keep saying there's not evidence, but I keep hearing about corruption and Biden, corruption and Biden. And so there must be something. And that's a phrase I've heard leave the mouth of good faith, honest people in my life who go, I know I've heard you say there's not evidence, but a lot of stuff's going on that I'm hearing about. And that's Republicans being successful. That's all it takes. Because for them, perception is all they need to affect. And perception in politics really is reality. And so the end goal here, as we've talked about so much, is just accusing Biden of everything they can, doing enough hearings, enough subpoenas being sent out so they can say they've subpoenaed people, and enough nonsense, flooding the zone with fecal matter, as Steve Bannon, I think, said with different language, and then causing people to just be confused, and it's muddy enough that maybe Trump and Biden are sort of similar in the corruption, when that's just not true. And at every step of this investigation, all Republicans have been able to prove is, oh, Joe Biden, in his decades of public service, has been anything but corrupt. And that's what they've been able to uncover. Bum, bum, bum. But then you also have this other element that I haven't yet discussed, which is James Comer specifically. Think about how depraved this is. No one really knew who he was in the general public. Fox News wasn't constantly having him on. And he wasn't able to sell a bunch of books and get a big book deal. And then he is the head of the oversight committee. And not that this was some big conspiracy to do this, but in the back of his head, this was an exciting element. He then used that position of power to accuse and smear the president of the United States so much and go on Fox News literally hundreds of times to do so and get a much bigger profile, become a much bigger celebrity in the political space, to the point where it makes sense for you to get a big book deal and you could benefit financially and you can benefit politically, and maybe he's going to run for Senate sometime soon. That's just vile that it's working out for him. Like, I've talked about a lot the fact that this is all a big failure and that should be humiliating. I've used that term a lot. This is humiliating. And what I mean is, if we lived in a rational world where we judged elected officials in their actions and governance based on the facts, and then whenever they, for example, said they were going to approve things about Biden, then didn't, and spent a big old waste of time trying to smear the president, then wouldn't the country go, oh, we're going to vote them out? That was horrible. Why'd they do that? But because now there's these different echo chambers where people can exist, where they never really hear that the investigation fell apart. They never hear that even Comer's admitting, yeah, we're not going to impeach him. Then they never actually are seen as a failure in the eyes of the people that matter, the people voting them into these positions for James Comer in Kentucky. And so then he wins. He gets the book deal. He's more famous. Fox News will have him on whenever he wants. Maybe he's garnered a big enough platform to run for Senate, and he has won. And that is a really unfortunate part of covering politics, because that happens too often. You can fail yourself up so hard. It's crazy. I mean, Trump's life is the story of failing upwards. And that I don't have an optimistic angle on, other than, hey, Biden won technically because they're not going to be able to impeach him and the investigation fell apart. But that's not really satisfying as much as them getting the accountability that they deserve. So maybe this investigation will yield something, but I wanted to bring it to your attention. It's not even an investigation yet, just the potential of one because of a watchdog group calling out Comer's potential violations here. Please make sure you subscribe to this channel.